We'll now be moving on to our final question of the forum. This will be directed at candidate Rodriguez. City Council has recently approved rezoning in Levine that increases housing density. How will you promote responsible growth that preserves the rural feel of the community? Side note, we feel we've been sold out and been rezoned to much smaller lots than originally planned.
Well, you know, it's a tough question. You've got to find a balance between what a property owner wants to do and what the residents that already live here would like. You know, one of the, I mean, it's kind of a circular argument. Why are these big owners of these big plots of land moving? It's because all the people are coming, and they don't like it. They like their open spaces, and so they're slowly but surely, you know, selling their property. I think it's a great idea to kind of look at the zoning and see if, you know, I'm noticing the same thing. It used to be that the lots were really huge, and now they're becoming almost like townhomes. You can almost reach across your gate and hit the next guy over. And I think that, you know, we've got to kind of step back a little bit and look at what the character is of the area, and when we're zoning, kind of keep that in mind and say, hey, we want to keep kind of an open feel. You know, one of the good things that zoning has done, there's a lot of open spaces and a lot of these developments that have green areas and that kind of thing. But, I mean, it's really just a matter of will, of political will to say, you know what, we're not going to have, you know, X amount of these kind of developments where they're really close together. We want to spread them out and kind of create, you know, and restore and actually maintain the open field of Levine. But, you know, developers, you know, will go to where the market's at, and I think that part of that, we've got to really look at essentially the economic development that surrounds these areas to see what is happening and kind of just make a conscious effort to spread out the zoning as it relates to housing development here in Levine.
Thank you. Next, candidate Stewart.
That's why we have elections every 4 years for city council persons. If you have a city council person that has sold you out, you should, in addition to communicating with him or her, going to the office, going to the council meetings, speaking to the mayor, whoever you can, you have every 4 years opportunity to vote that person out. This election, you have, it's an open seat. And so you have to make a decision based on what you've heard tonight, what you've read about either one of us. Which one of us do you feel that you can trust to listen to you, to be your advocate, to be your representative, so that you will not be sold out to developers? And so you have a very serious decision to make. It can't undo what was done in the past, but it certainly can limit what's done in the future. And so you have a very serious decision to make as it relates to who you want your next council person to be, someone who will be your representative, your advocate, who you can trust to represent you down at City Hall.
Thank you. Candidate Garza.
I've spent hours working to improve, first advocating to make sure we had a good, solid general plan, and then working on it. And I wouldn't do that if I didn't think we should follow, if I didn't think we need to follow the general plan. And the general plan in this area is a strong protection for lower density. It's been, one of the reasons I'm running is I keep wondering if people on the city council have ever read it, and they know what we've agreed as a community. And in fact, I know some of them haven't, and so that will be a real change with me on there. But we do need to plan ahead and talk about what we want to do. Paul Barnes, who's a very strong advocate for neighborhoods and is supporting my campaign, told me that we approved 92% of the variances in the city of Phoenix, which tells me we really don't stick to the plans very well. And anyone that comes through, it sounds like it's a good idea. So that will be a big change when I'm on the council. I've also tried to run my campaign and look at things that will allow me to be independent. So a common thing in City of Phoenix politics is to have a general consultant on your campaign who also lobbies the City of Phoenix. I've decided not to do that so I can go in there and be independent and not owe anyone any favors. And I think that will also be very important. That the people who are on my team are just on my team and aren't working for anyone else. They don't have clients that are zoning gas stations and other issues. And that will be important for me when I'm on the council.
Thank you. Next, candidate Robinson.
So I've called for some real solutions because plans come and go. And as we've already talked about, many of them are not read and not followed. The difference is that you need an independent voice on the council who will devote himself to changing, not just putting a vision forward for a plan every year, but will actually propose things that will be passed and create real changes for our neighborhoods. So I was the first candidate up here to talk about the character traits of Levine. Talked about it before you even had to prompt me for a question. It's viscerally important to me because my family lives here and I want Levine to remain the way that it is. I've talked about that over and over in my answers. But I've also talked about one solution I think will make a huge difference. And that's my call for a transparent system for the public to participate in zoning decisions. That will be, yes, online, but it should also be in other ways. So we should have these community meetings and at village sessions and within our neighborhoods and HOAs, representatives who talk about that transparency. We shouldn't just post a sign on a lot or ask for that lot to be immediately sold. We should involve our neighbors. And by creating a transparent process where every development decision is weighed in upon by us, our neighbors and our families, we will prevent this reoccurring plan, not following plan, and being sold out. And when you offer real solutions to change the status quo and the dynamic, you know you're going to get real leadership.
Thank you. Since we're up against the clock here, we actually gone over a little bit, 50 minutes. We'll now move on to closing statements. And we will start first with candidate Stewart and move to his right. You now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you very much again for coming, and those who have remained. It's been a pleasure to be here with you. I have the experience, leadership, bringing people together, consensus building, collaboration, to fight for you. This district is in the midst of change. This area, once the freeway comes in, is going to be, the real estate is going to increase. You need to make sure you have someone who has seen the city change more than once, who has worked as a part of that change, and I have. I arrived in 1977, and I've seen so much change. I've seen Levine change. I've seen District 8 change. And I've not served on a lot of committees or commissions, but I have worked with, and I deal with economic development, with education issues, with housing, with health and human services on a daily basis. We did an infill project on 1141 East Jefferson, the church. Vacant lots were there, buildings run down, and we built a building called the Hope Center. And now we feed the homeless and clothe them and provide them ways to get back into the workforce, have a home for unwed teenage mothers. So these are things that I have done on a daily basis. And I have the experience to begin January 1 to fight for you, to advocate for you, after I listen to you, to make Levine the Levine that it deserves to become, with you being the resident. I solicit your support.
Thank you, candidate Stewart. Now we move on to candidate Rodriguez. You have 2 minutes for closing statement.
Well, I was born here. Been here for 47 years. I spent 25 of those years in the Army. I've been to a lot of different places. You know, my experience is not like any of these other candidates. I've not been in committees and I've not been on commissions. I've actually done stuff in my job. And I'm not saying they haven't done stuff. I'm just saying my job in the Army was to get stuff done. I was a warrant officer. If anybody knows about warrant officers, they're not designed to be nice to people. I will be a bull in a china shop for you. I want to make sure that the city is accountable to you. That's what really we need as citizens. We need government that is accountable to us, because without us, without our consent, it does not exist. You're paying millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. The city budget is like in the billions of dollars. And most people don't even know what they're doing. The real key is who's going to be accountable to you for what the city does. Not only citywide, but in this district. That's going to be my job, to be accountable to you, to make sure that I communicate with you. All the plans, all the commissions, all the things that the city does. You need a voice in that, and I want to be your voice. And that's why I'm soliciting your support as your city councilman.
Thank you, candidate Rodriguez. And now we move on to candidate Robinson. You have 2 minutes.
So when my family bought their house here in Levine, it was probably under the same promises that many of you were given. That the city would make sure that we developed this area of town, that we'd be protected, that we'd be listened to. But at the same time, we call ourselves Levine here. And that's because there's a purpose and there's an independence that we all adhere to. And that's the character and the charm of our communities. That character and charm doesn't come by plans, it doesn't come by committees, it doesn't come by what I've done last year or 10 years before. It comes by what we do together moving forward. And that's the candidate I am. I'll level with you. I'll tell you about how I'm going to fund it until we find the long-term solution. But I won't sell you out by giving you a short-term solution for political expedience. I'm talking about protecting the neighborhoods that my family lives in. I'm talking about having a solution that will be sustainable. And most of all, I'm talking about what makes a city great. Funding public safety. Making sure that the services are in place in our neighborhoods to increase our property values. And making sure that when changes come that will improve our community, yes, like a freeway, yes, like a hospital, we can still recognize Levine that you all call home today. So that's what I represent. It's what I've represented this entire campaign. It's why I was the first candidate to put forward a small and local business plan. It's why I'm the candidate who believes in taking on copper and metal theft and the other unsexy ideas that will actually keep our neighborhoods and our houses prosperous. And it's why you can count on me to be the leader that has not been here in District 8 for so many years. The leader who will tell you the truth, who will represent you, and who will say it's more important not to just have a seat at the table, but what you're going to do with that seat at the table. And that's why I ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Robinson. And last but not least, candidate Gallego. You have 2 minutes.
I'm proud to have the support of Levine leaders, from the chair of the Village Planning Commission, leaders of the LCC, the Little League, the leader of the school board. I've been involved in the community, and because I will deliver results. I believe I have the right experience. I'm passionate about what the city does, and I've been involved at the city. I've gotten policies done, whether it be improving our streets, bringing more renewable energy. It's not easy to get things done at the City of Phoenix. The bureaucracy is slow, we don't love change, and you need someone who's been there and who's interested and who will get things done. We don't get our fair share of city investment, and we need someone who will work together with the other councilmen in District 7 to make sure that Levine does. I bring a unique background in addition to my city service. I understand how the business community works. I'd be the only MBA on the council. I'd also be the first woman to represent District 8, which is, I think, an important component to think about. We have only one woman out of 8 on the city council, and we really do need a more diverse city council that reflects the city. So I hope to go in there and really work hard on behalf of everyone here. I want to thank all of you, the leaders of the community who have been involved in so many meetings and been fighting. And I'm very optimistic as the city comes out of the downturn that we are going to have more revenues, we are going to have more opportunities to fulfill the promises that have been made, whether it be the Levine Recreation Center or the 202 freeway. And I believe I have the record that you can depend on to make sure that we do get these things done for the community. So thank you so much for coming here tonight. Thank you to my colleagues for stepping up and being willing to run, and look forward to seeing you all on the campaign trail. August 27th is Election Day, and we have a lot of exciting choices to make, and look forward to answering questions if you still have more.
Thank you, candidate. And I also want to thank the audience for attending our forum this evening, taking time out for your busy schedule. I also want to thank the candidates for those of you who attended answers.